unconfirmed reports that Wayne Rooney has parted company or is set to be sacked by Birmingham City. Various outlets going with this now. Various outlets pointing to the fact that it's been 2 wins from 15 games in charge for Wayne Rooney since he took over from John Eustace, who parted company with Birmingham City when they were 6th. Now Birmingham City are 20th. And of course, Simon, as we stress, there is no agenda on your part. There has never been. I tried to stress that to Wayne when I met him. I think it was at Peterborough last season. And life goes on, and I'm sure it will. But at the meantime, results and positions in the league table doesn't lie, and it tells you where Birmingham City have got to. Birmingham City fans last month were coming on in numbers saying, no, this is Wayne Rooney. He deserves more time. I wonder, and I ask you again, I wonder if you think that today. 03717 22 33 44. Simon, you've been strong on this from the get-go. You've said, look, the owners at Birmingham City have got to have very good reason, more than reason of, well, it's Wayne Rooney, global star Wayne Rooney, to put him in charge of Birmingham City. And you quite rightly have stuck to that. That sadly, in the time he's been there has been nothing much else to stress. Look, it's Wayne. And Wayne the manager is Wayne the manager, and he'll do the job. There's been nothing to indicate that he will.
That's the decision-making process that you have to make as an owner. You have to look at the reality of who you're employing. You're not employing an image. You're not employing a former player. They're all former players, obviously, but you're employing a manager, and a manager whose job is to control everything in the football operation. There was nothing about this decision that smacked to me of anything other than some form of autograph hunting and perception. Now, he may well have interviewed very well. And again, I take no satisfaction from it. But there's nothing about this particular circumstance that surprises me. And it's on the owners, by the way. This is on the owners.
Yes, yeah. And you've stressed that all along, Simon, to be fair to you. Ian Danter, of course, TalkSPORT's Midlands correspondent, is across it. Ian, good morning to you. Unconfirmed reports, but we're hearing that Wayne is set to go today. You hearing the same?
Yes, I'm hearing the same from several different sources. It would appear to be the case that their patience has finally snapped. I think Garry Cook would rather have kept Wayne on for the entire season, regardless of where Birmingham finished, provided they finished outside of the relegation zone. But I think the defeat to Leeds yesterday was too much. And I think Garry Cook has been advised this is what you need to do. And it would appear confirmation is going to come from the club later this morning.
Why would Garry Cook want or feel the necessity to stay with Wayne Rooney for the rest of the season?
I think probably just because he believes in him, Simon. I don't think it's any more than just a desire that he wants. He's a friend of Wayne's. He's a friend of Wayne's agent, Paul Stretford, and I think he just wanted it so badly for Wayne that he was prepared to cut him the slack that maybe managers like John Eustace, Wayne's predecessor, did not have. I think it's pure and simple a friendship thing that has made it more difficult for Garry to make that decision to cut ties, and that's
that must be great for the owners to have a chief executive that has no real objectivity in the decision making process. What a poor decision he's made, and he's trying to double down on it.
That's my impression of what's going on, Simon, and whether that is actually the case, Garry would have to let us all know why this is dragged on and why the appointment was made in the first place. Because, as you know, this has been the actual appointment was in the post a good month or two before it actually happened.
Yes, yeah, good point.
It seemed that we were just waiting for the MLS season to finish, and as soon as that finished, suddenly, lo and behold, John Eustace is dismissed and Wayne is brought in. So it seems that this has been a fait accompli since the late summer. So
Ian, I know you've been close to it, and I know you are close to it. What do you make of Rob, who's a regular listener to this show? He's saying this morning, look, we're all agreed, an amazing player, Rooney, but he just doesn't come across as a manager at all. His last interview, he was talking about getting new players in, but why can't he coach and improve the ones that he inherited? He says this was a Hollywood appointment with no substance, nothing more than that. Do you go with that? Yeah.
I agree with a lot of what's been said there. And Simon said autograph hunting in his introduction before you brought me on. I'd go along with that as well. And that smacks of it. We were saying exactly the same phrase when it came to Gianfranco Zola inheriting Gary Rowett's job a few years ago. It smacked of autograph hunting from the previous set of directors and owners. And look where that got us. Zola won 2 in 24 which was an even worse record than Wayne Rooney's actually had since he's been in charge. 2 wins in 15. So, yeah, you learn your lessons from the appointments you make in any.
But it's an appalling
industry,
decision, Ian. I mean, one of the things that new owners were often criticised for is not having football nous around them, not having people in their ears that can give them. Who are they listening to? Souness regularly says. You've got the former chief executive of Man City sitting in situ, advocating for a manager that's got a 27% win record in the MLS and about the same in the Championship. And potentially, I know that I'm paraphrasing what you said, potentially doubling down on suggesting that Wayne Rooney might be the solution. What do you do if you're an owner when your chief executive, who's supposed to give you the football and the intellectual capital, is advocating for an appointment that most people in football, most sensible observers will go, what the hell's that about?
Ian, before you answer that, we are hearing that here at TalkSPORT, we are hearing that it's well nigh definite and that Rooney will part company and has already parted company with the football club. It's our understanding here, Ian, that the players are about to be told. So this is moving quickly.
Well, it was my understanding that he hadn't turned up to training this morning, and that is what set everything in motion. With the sources I have, that it was coming to a final denouement, as it were.
Yeah.
So, look, what happens now, Simon? Going back to your question, the next appointment is going to be very closely scrutinised by all concerned. There's nothing we can do about the fact that Wayne Rooney was appointed. It's done. We have to get over that. What we have to look at now as supporters is how sensible the approach is to finding a successor, what actual skill set they're looking for from the manager they go for, what kind of market they shop in for a successor, and we'll see how that plays out, because the process that we've just seen, the appointment of Rooney from nowhere, but as I mentioned earlier, it wasn't really from nowhere, and giving John Eustace his cards when he'd done a pretty reasonable job with what isn't the best squad in the division by any stretch of the imagination, that smacked of being a little odd. So,
I remember at the time, Garry Cook, the chief exec at Birmingham, when Wayne was appointed, I'll remind you, and I'll remind Wayne, his role here is to be a leader, to drive a successful, ambitious and winning mentality. The support from all of us here at the football club is to make Wayne and his team a success, and that will be made available at every single level. There's only so long, Simon, that pledge can exist.
Yeah, but again, I go back to my point, and I'm not wishing to labour it. When you are a new ownership model, there's a constant criticism of new owners coming in and making harebrained decisions and needing more intellectual capital around them. You've seen Christian Purslow felt the need to bring Steven Gerrard into the dugout at Aston Villa. We saw what happened there. We've now seen Garry Cook, who are supposed to be football operators, who are supposed to understand the landscape. Nobody, with all due respect to Ian, and he's right to say, that's done, we move on.
Yeah.
But you've got football intellectual capital in an experienced operator that advocated for Wayne Rooney, and not because Wayne Rooney needs to be absolutely bashed to pieces, but there's nothing about that appointment that smacks of any common sense. But by the way, also, Ian, the players themselves, I mean, I heard various reports that people at the beginning of the Rooney appointment weren't that particularly enamoured with John Eustace. The players were punching above their weight. The football wasn't that great, and they were beginning to go on the wane. How much of this, excuse the expression, how much of this is about the players actually finding their level and not being able to respond to Rooney, and how much of it is about Rooney's failings?
Well, I'd go 75-25, player, on the 25%, Rooney on the 75%. Let's look at where Birmingham were, Simon.
Yeah.
6th in the table, although they had a poor run prior to the 2 wins against Huddersfield and West Brom that seemed to precipitate John Eustace's departure. They had got 2 points, 2 points out of a possible 15, I think, prior to that, including a defeat at Norwich that many thought would see John Eustace lose his job then, but that didn't happen, probably because the MLS season hadn't finished at that point. But the players, the stories I kept hearing, Simon, was the players were being loaded with information, new information about tactics, setup and play that was just, they felt overawed by it.
Yeah.
Now, some players can take on information and can change their style and change their approach to whatever position they play without any problem. And they can change for a 3 at the back to 4 at the back, or whatever you want to call it. I think these players were smothered with information about what their role was meant to be and how different it was to the role they once had, that it was just hard to
It's
to
just
take
hard
in.
to operate. Okay, Ian, listen, thank you very much. Ian Danter, TalkSPORT's Midlands correspondent, kindly joining us this morning. That is the breaking news, yet to be confirmed by the football club. It's our understanding the club will confirm this in about half an hour to an hour or so, that Wayne Rooney is parting company with Birmingham City. A lot of Birmingham City fans getting in touch, Dave being one of them, seems to sum it up. Happy New Year to you guys. We love Wayne, but he's one of the best talents we've ever produced in the country, yes. Good luck to him. It seems that it's time up now for Wayne Rooney. And of course, what doesn't help Wayne and Birmingham City at the moment is a glance across the city of Birmingham and they see their great adversaries, Aston Villa, second in the Premier League and flying under Unai Emery. What's your take on it, Birmingham City fans? Time up for Wayne. You go with it. It seems a decision is made.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the TalkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. TalkSPORT.